Alexa,
Hello.
Good morning,
good
sir.
morning,
Good
sir.
morning to all of you.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, sir.
So,
Morning.
after a very long time,
Hari.
Good morning,
we
sir.
are having the online class once again.
Good morning, sir.
Very good morning. Okay. So, in the previous classes, we discussed TCP congestion control, IPv6, many topics, multicasting, right? All these topics we discussed. In continuation with the TCP congestion control, today we will discuss fast retransmit and fast recovery. So, as part of the congestion control, we know that TCP implements congestion control, right? So, what are the key words, key characteristics of the congestion control algorithm? Slow start, exponential growth. Once it reaches the threshold level, depending upon the timeout or retransmission, the congestion window is reset. Congestion window is set to 1 if timeout happens. In the other case of the retransmission, that is, when 3 acknowledgement packets are received, then congestion window is set to the threshold value and additive increase happens. That phase is called fast retransmit and fast recovery. So that is going to be discussed now. So you can note down the question, discuss fast retransmit and fast recovery in case of the congestion control of TCP. We know that retransmission happens due to 2 main reasons. One is timeout. When timeout expires, packet is retransmitted. And retransmission also happens when 3 duplicate acknowledgements are received from the receiver to the sender. Today, what we have to understand is when we receive 3 duplicate acknowledgements and when we implement fast retransmit and fast recovery mechanism in TCP congestion control. The idea of fast retransmit is straightforward. We know the problem with the timeout mechanism. In order to make the retransmission, TCP sender has to wait till timeout happens. But there are two cases of designing the timeout time. One is coarse grained timeout design, another is fine grained timeout design. Basically, these are the mechanisms by which we determine the timeout time, how much time TCP sender has to wait. We have seen that in different algorithms, including Nagel's algorithm. And generally, we set the timeout duration equal to twice the RTT round trip time. During the time while waiting for a timer to expire, the TCP connection is dead. That means no communication happens. In order to reduce that, in order to reduce no communication time, and whenever a three duplicate acknowledgement receives, instead of going for the slow start phase, TCP what it does is it sets the congestion window size to threshold value, and from threshold value it starts additive increase. Now we have to understand when the TCP sender receives three duplicate acknowledgement, or in other words, very first, what is duplicate acknowledgement? Every time a data packet arrives at the receiving side, receiver responds with an acknowledgement, even if the sequence number has already been acknowledged. Thus, when a packet arrives out of order, that is, TCP cannot yet acknowledge the data packet contains, because earlier data has not yet arrived, TCP resends the same acknowledgement it sent the last time. That means whenever a packets are arriving at the receiver in out of order, for the same packet, it sends the same acknowledgement that it has sent last time. This way, it sends 3 or 4 duplicate acknowledgement, but we are interested in only 3 duplicate acknowledgement. When 3 duplicate acknowledgement comes, TCP sender, instead of going for the slow start phase, it sets the congestion window to the threshold value, then additive increase happens. If you take the congestion window as 32 kb, suppose at the threshold level, 3 duplicate acknowledgements are received, then it starts with the additive increase, that is 16 becomes 18, 18 becomes 20, 20 becomes 22, but not the congestion window goes and reset to 1. So this is called fast retransmit and fast recovery. There are some congestion avoidance mechanisms. So by this we have completed the congestion control mechanism. Now we are going to discuss congestion avoidance mechanisms. Congestion avoidance mechanism, there are different mechanisms. Very first we will take up congestion avoidance mechanism called DEC bit mechanism. We know that in congestion avoidance implementation or congestion control implementation, we have to consider the sender entity, receiver entity, also the network entity. Whereas a flow control is a trade-off, is a discussion, a negotiation, the work that happens between the sender and receiver only. Whereas The congestion control mechanism also involves the network. So we take the router here. Each router, suppose if it experiences the congestion, then it marks the congestion by setting congestion binary bit to 1 and sends to the receiver. The destination or receiver host then copies this congestion bit into the acknowledgement and it sends back to the source. Finally, the source adjusts its sending rate so as to avoid the congestion. So this is called DC bit congestion control mechanism. I repeat, whenever a router which is in between the sender and receiver experiences congestion, then it sets the binary congestion bit to 1 in the packets that flow through the router, and those congestion bits set packets reaches the destination. Host then copies the congestion bit into the acknowledgement bit and it sends back to the source. Finally, the source adjusts its sending rate so as to avoid the congestion. Here we need to understand how much source reduces the congestion. If DC bit set to the packets which are in that flow is 50%. If 50% of the packet had the bit set, congestion bit set to 1, then the source increases its congestion window by 1 packet, like additive increase. If 50% or more of the last window's worth of packets had the congestion bit set, more than 50% of the packets in that flow have the congestion bit set 1, then the source decreases its congestion window to 0.87% times the previous value. Okay, that means suppose it's sending 100 packets earlier and congestion happens now, the 87.5%. So that much of window gets decreased. Then the source decreases its congestion window about 87% of the previous value. This is with respect to the DC bit. The second random early detection mechanism is called random early detection mechanism, RED. It is similar to the DC bit scheme in that each router is programmed to monitor its queue length, and when detects the congestion is happening imminent, to notify the source to adjust the congestion window. RED, random early detection, is the scheme invented by Sally Floyd and Van Jacobson in 1990s. It differs from DC bit scheme in two major ways. First is that rather than explicitly sending a congestion notification mechanism to the source, RED is most commonly implemented such that it implicitly notifies the source of congestion by dropping one of its packet. The source is therefore effectively notified by the subsequent timeout or duplicate acknowledgement. RED is designed to be used in conjunction with the TCP, which currently detects congestion by means of timeouts. As The early part of the mechanism, random early detection, the red acronym suggests the gateway drops the packet earlier than it would have to so as to notify the source that it should decrease its congestion window sooner than it would normally have. That's why we call random early detection. In other words, the router drops a few packets before it has exhausted its buffer space completely, so as to cause the source to slow down. To the hope that this will mean it does not have to drop lots of packets later on. Otherwise, the packets that have to be dropped will be huge and which results in bandwidth wastage. Also, it results in a lot of retransmission of the packets. So, we are just discussing the difference between RED and DEC. The first difference is that RED, the receiver or the router, drops the packets before its buffer gets exhausted. The second difference between RED and DEC bit is in the details of how RED decides when to drop a packet and what packet it decides to drop. To understand the basic idea, consider a simple first in, first out queue. Rather than wait for the queue to become completely full and then be forced to drop each arriving packet, we could decide to drop each arriving packet with some drop probability whenever the queue length exceeds some drop level. The idea is called early random drop. The RED algorithm defines the details of how to monitor the queue length and when to drop a packet. We can have a simple mechanism to understand how this works. Very fast, RED, random early detection mechanism, computes an average queue length using a weighted running average similar to the one used in original TCP timeout computation. That is, average length is computed as follows. This is called weighted average 1 minus weight multiplied by average length plus weight into sample length, where weight is greater than 0, less than 1, and sample length is the length of the queue when a sample measurement is made. In most software implementation, the queue length is measured every time a new packet arrives at the gateway. So queue length is measured and then a decision is taken. RST has two queue length thresholds that trigger certain activity, minimum threshold and maximum threshold. When a packet arrives at the gateway, RED compares the current average length with these two thresholds. According to the rules, if average length is less than or equal to minimum threshold, then it queues the packet. If minimum threshold is less than average length and maximum threshold is greater than average length, it drops the arriving packet with probability P. If maximum threshold is less than or equal to average length, then it drops the arriving packet. P probability is a function of both average length and how long it has been since the last packet was dropped. Specifically, it is computed as follows. Temp P equals max P into average length minus minimum threshold divided by maximum threshold minus minimum threshold. P equals 10p divided by 1 minus count into 10p. So the schematically RED is represented like this. The second mechanism for congestion avoidance RED we discussed. Now we are going to discuss source-based congestion avoidance. The general idea of these techniques is to watch for some signals from the network that some router's queue is building up and the congestion will happen soon if nothing is done about it. For example, the source might notice that as packet queues build up in the network's routers, there is a measurable increase in the round trip time for each successive packet it sends. Because we measure the RTT as the time interval between sending the packet and the first acknowledgement that it receives. Receiving the acknowledgement becomes delayed if there is a considerable amount of packets queued up in the router. So RTT value increases. That means timeout value increases. So source-based congestion avoidance mechanism is the one which plays some role at this point of time. The congestion window normally increases as in TCP, but every two round trip delays, the algorithm checks to see if the current RTT is greater than the average of the minimum and maximum RTTs seen so far. If it is, then the algorithm decreases the congestion window by 1/8. A second algorithm, which is implemented in source-based congestion avoidance, is due to the decision so as to whether or not to change the current window size is based on changes to both round trip time and the window size. Window is adjusted once every two round trip delays based on the product current window minus old window multiplied by current RTT minus old RTT. If the result is positive, the source decreases the window size by 1/8. If the result is negative or 0, the source increases the window by maximum one packet. Window changes during every adjustment, that is, it oscillates around its optimal point. So there are three techniques in congestion avoidance mechanism: DEC bit, random early detection, and source-based congestion avoidance. So these techniques are important. Hello? So to continue, we discuss quality of service. Even though we discussed many times the quality of service, network performance, under these chapters headings, quickly we will go to the quality of the service. For many years, packet switched networks have offered the promise of supporting multimedia applications, audio, video, and data. Right? So especially the quality of service comes into picture when we are talking about the multimedia applications. If we provide the key requirement of the applications, like for example, if we are able to provide sufficient bandwidth for the application, then the application may work. If network can support by implementing good congestion avoidance mechanism or congestion control mechanism, the quality of service may improve. Okay. So due to many various reasons, the quality of service may be improved. Participants in a telephone conversation, for example, expect to be able to converse in such a way that one person can respond to something said by the other and be heard almost immediately. Then we say quality of service is good. Thus, the timelines of delivery can be very important. We refer to the applications that are sensitive to the timelines of data as real-time applications. Voice and video applications tend to be canonical examples, but would like a command sent to a robot arm to reach it before the arm crashes into something? Definitely not. So there are real-time applications where they have timeline constraints. Even file transfer application can have some timeline constraints, such as the requirement that a database update complete overnight before the business that needs the data resumes on the next day. The distinguished characteristics of real-time application is that they need some sort of assurance from the network that data is likely to arrive on, or some definition of on time. Whereas a non-real-time application can use an end-to-end transmission strategy to make sure that data arrives correctly. Such a strategy cannot provide timelines. This implies that network will treat some packets differently from other packets. So we can say traditional applications and real-time applications. A network that can provide these two different level of service is often set to support quality of service. Real-time applications, here data is generated by collecting samples from a microphone and digitizing them using an A to D converter. Detailed samples are placed in packets which are transmitted across the network and received at the other end. Real-time applications, for example, voice samples were collected at rate of 1 per 125 microseconds. They should be played back at the same rate. We can think of each sample as having a particular playback time. The point in time at which it is needed at the receiving host. In this example, each sample has a playback time that is 125 microseconds later than the preceding sample. So, time constraints are important. Taxonomy of real-time applications. The first characteristics by which we can categorize application is their tolerance of loss of data, where loss might occur because a packet arrived too late to be played back, as well as arising from the usual causes in the network. On the one hand, one lost audio sample can be interpolated from the surrounding samples with relatively little effect on the perceived audio quality. It's only as more and more samples are lost, the quality declines to the point that speech becomes incomprehensible. So tolerance to data lost. One possibility is interpolating, generating at its own host, at one station, and the other possibility is getting retransmitted. Second way to characterize real-time application is their adaptability. For example, an audio application might be able to adapt to the amount of delay that packets experiences as they traverse in the network. We call applications that can adjust their playback time delay adaptive applications. Other class of adaptive applications are rate adaptive. For example, many videos. Sir, class sir. Oh. A rate adaptive. Another class of adaptive applications are rate adaptive. For example, many video coding algorithms that can trade off bit rate versus quality. Thus, if we find that network can support a certain, if we find that the network can support a certain bandwidth, we can set our coding parameters accordingly. If more bandwidth becomes available later, we can change the parameter. So the taxonomy of real-time applications, especially what is considered as multimedia applications. So it is soft real-time applications or elastic real-time applications, real or time applications, which are hard real-time applications are also there, adaptive and adaptive. So how they are able to adapt to the delay, and rate adaptive. So all this leads to different taxonomy of the real-time applications. Quality of service with approaches. Approaches to quality of service support. Fine-grained approaches where quality of service to provide a large classes of data or aggregated traffic. The first category we find integrated services, a quality of service architecture developed in the IETF and often associated with RSVP, resource reservation protocol. In the second category lies differentiated service, which is probably the most widely deployed quality of service mechanisms. In fact, we have already discussed the quality of service with the heading integrated service and differentiated service. Now that just we are mapping the integrated service with a particular protocol, RSVP. The term integrated service refers to a body of work that was produced by the IETF in 1995. The Integrated Service Working Group developed specifications of a number of service classes designed to meet the needs of some of the application types described. It also defined how RSVP could be used to make reservations using these service classes. RSVP, as we know, it's an application layer protocol, which is used to reserve the resources as per the application requirement. Guaranteed service, the network should guarantee the maximum delay that any packet will experience has some specified value. Controlled load service, the aim of the control load service is to emulate a lightly loaded network for those applications that request the service, even though the network as a whole may in fact be heavily loaded. Integrated service in this flow specifications, with the best effort service, we can just tell the network where we want our packets to go and leave it at that time. A real-time service involves telling the network something more about the type of service we require. The set of information that we provide to the network is referred to as flow specification. Admission control. When we ask the network to provide us with a particular service, the network decides whether it can accept any more service requests or not. We call that as a admission control. Resource reservation. We need a mechanisms by which users of the network and the components of the network itself exchange information such as requests for service, flow specifications, and admission control decisions. We refer to this process as resource reservation. Packet scheduling. Finally, when flows and their requirements have been described and admission control decisions have been made, the network switches and routers need to meet the requirements of the flows. A key part of meeting these requirements is managing the way packets are queued and rescheduled for transmission, the switches and router. This mechanism is this last mechanism is used in packet scheduling. Flow specification, there are two separate parts of this flow specification. The part that describes flow traffic characteristics such as time specification, part that describes the service requested from the network. Okay. R specification. The R specification is very specific and relatively easy to describe. For example, with a control load service, R specification is trivial and the application just requests control load service with no additional parameters. Flow speed, suppose 10 flows arrive at a switch on separate ports and they all live on the same 10 Mbps link. If each flow is expected to send not more than 1 Mbps, if these are variable bit applications such as compressed video, if enough services send more than the average rates, then the total rate at which data arrives at the switch will be more than 10 Mbps. This excess data will be queued. The longer the condition persists, the longer queue will be generated. Flow specification. One way to describe the bandwidth characteristics of these sources is called token bucket filter. A filter is described by two parameters, a token R and bucket depth B. To be able to send a byte, a token is needed. To send a packet of length n tokens are needed. Initially, there are no tokens. Tokens are accumulated at a rate of R per second. No more than B tokens can be accumulated. So this is what we implement as a algorithm. We can send a burst of as many as B bytes into the network as fast as we want, but for significant long interval, we cannot send more than R bytes per second. Admission control in integrated service. The idea behind admission control is simple. When some new flow wants to receive a particular level of service, admission control looks at the specifications and guarantee of service that has been assured to the present going traffic. And if satisfactory service can be made available, then it agrees and that decision it makes based on the whether available resources are sufficient in order to assure the proposed flow the required guarantee of service. Reservation protocol. While connection-oriented networks have always needed some sort of setup protocol to establish the necessary virtual circuit states in the switches, connection-less networks like the internet have had no such protocols. However, we need to provide a lot more information to our network than we want a real service from it. While there have been a number of setup protocols proposed for the internet, the one on which most current attention is focused is called resource reservation protocol, what we discussed many times. So you may be asked in the examination to discuss resource reservation protocol as part of the integrated service. Reservation protocol, one of the key assumptions underlying RSVP is that it should not detract from the robustness that we find in today's connectionless networks. Because connectionless networks rely on little or no state being stored in the network itself. It's possible for routers to crash and reboot, for the links to go up and down while end-to-end connectivity is still maintained. RSVP tries to maintain this robustness by using the idea of soft state in the routers. Other important characteristics of RSVP is that aims to support multicast flows just as effectively as unicast flows. Reservation protocol. The receiver needs to know what traffic the sender is likely to send so that it can make an appropriate reservation. Second, it needs to know what path the packets will follow from sender to receiver. Okay. Having received the path message, the receiver sends a reservation backup, the multicast tree in a reverse message. This message contains the sender's time specification and resource specification describing the requirement of this receiver. Each router on the path looks at the reservation request and tries to allocate the necessary resources to satisfy it. If the reservation can be made, RASV request is passed on to the next router. If not, an error message is returned to the receiver who made the request. It goes well, the correct reservation is installed at every router between the sender and receiver. So this is the idea of integrated service in the integrated service using the reservation protocol. Packets classifying and scheduling. Once we have described our traffic and our desired network service and have installed suitable reservations at all the routers on the path, the only thing that remains is for the routers to actually deliver the requested service to the data packets. There are two things that need to be done. Associate each router associate each packet with the appropriate reservation so that it can handle correctly, a process known as classifying packets. Manage the packets in the queue so that they receive the service that has been requested, a process known as packet scheduling. Whereas the integrated service architecture, differentiated service, we are discussing the differentiated service. Whereas the integrated service architecture allocates the resources to individual flows, the differentiated service model allocates the resources to a small number of classes of traffic. In fact, some proposed approaches to differentiated service are simply divide traffic into two classes. Suppose that we have decided to enhance the best effort service model by adding just one class, which we call as a premium class. Clearly, we will need some way to figure out which packets are premium and which are regular old best effort. Rather than using protocol like RSVP to tell all the routers that some flow is sending premium packets, it would be much easier if the packets could just identify themselves to the router when they arrive. This could obviously be done by using a bit in the packet header. If that bit is 1, the packet is premium packet. If it is 0, the packet is best effort. With this in mind, there are two questions we need to address. Who sets the premium bit? Under what circumstances? What does a router do differently when it sees a packet with the bit set? There are many possible answers to the question, but a common approach is to set the bit at an administrative boundary. For example, the router at the edge of an internet service provider's network might see that and set the bit for the packets arriving on an interface that connects to a particular company's network. The internet service provider might do this because that company has paid for a high level of service than best effort. Assuming that packets have been marked in some way, what do the routers that encounter marked packets do with them? Here again, there are many answers. In fact, IETF standardized a set of routers behavior to be applied to marked packets. These are called per hop behaviors, PHBs, a term that indicates that they define the behavior of individual routers rather than end-to-end services. The expedited forwarding EFPHB, one of the simplest PHBs to explain, is known as expedited forwarding. EF packets marked for EF treat forwarded by the router with the minimum delay and loss. The only way that a router can guarantee this to all EF expedited forwarding packets is if the arrival rate of EF packets at the router is strictly limited to be less than the rate at which the router can forward EF packet. The assured forwarding AF has its roots in an approach known as RED with in and out or weighted RED, both of which are enhancement to the basic RED algorithms. For our two classes of traffic, we have two separate drop probability curves. RIO, read within and out calls, the two classes in and out for reasons that will become clear shortly. Because the out service curve has lower minimum threshold than the in curve, it's clear that under low levels of congestion, only packets marked out will be discarded by the RAD algorithm. If the congestion becomes more serious, a higher percentage of out packets are dropped. And then if the average queue length exceeds minimum, RAD starts to drop in packets as well. We have discussed the different resource allocation mechanisms. We have discussed different TCP congestion control mechanisms. We have discussed congestion avoidance mechanism. So we have discussed the TCP congestion control mechanism with that algorithm, slow start, exponential grow, and whenever a retransmission happens, that is due to two causes. One is the timeout, another is retransmission due to three different acknowledgements. In the second case, when retransmission happens with three duplicate acknowledgement, instead of going for the slow start phase, we go to the threshold and we from that point we start additive increase. So that we call it as a fast retransmit and fast recovery. By examining the acknowledgements which are in the pipe, we implement this mechanism. Congestion avoidance mechanism. There are three congestion avoidance mechanisms we discussed. DEC bit mechanism we discussed, and then RED we discussed, right? The RED we discussed, and the third one, third congestion, third mechanism for congestion avoidance is DEC bit after random early detection, after that source-based congestion avoidance. So these three congestion avoidance mechanisms we discussed, and quality of service. When we take the real-time applications, we come up with the different taxonomy of real-time application. So which are soft real-time application, hard real-time application, adaptive real-time applications, non-adaptive real-time applications, delay adaptive applications, and rate adaptive applications. Accordingly, we use the RSVP protocols to provide the integrated service. Differentiated service is done only with respect to some class of service. So special and but limited to the small networks. That way we provide the quality of service. Okay, so these are the things that we discussed. So by this, already you have got this chapter 6 PPT set in the group. So please go through that. So in the next class onwards, we start the last unit, that is security and applications of the network. So please answer your attendance. So Anaga,
Yes, sir.
so you were present in the last two classes.
Yes, sir.
Abhilash,
Yes, sir.
Akhil,
Yes, sir.
Akrut Kumar,
Yes, sir.
Anusha,
Yes, sir.
Arvind,
Present, sir.
Arifullah,
Yes, sir.
Venakaraj, Venakaraj absent. Banu Prakash,
Yes, sir.
Banu Prakash present.
Yes, sir.
Bhargav, Bhargav,
Yes, sir.
Rahmatullah,
Present, sir.
Chaitra, Chaitra, Chandana,
Present, sir.
Charan Kumar,
Yes, sir.
Darshan Kumar,
Present, sir.
Diksha,
Present, sir.
Dakshayani,
Present, sir.
Kishan,
Present, sir.
Harshit,
Present, sir.
Hemalata,
Present.
Huma Bushra,
Banu Prakash present, sir.
Present, sir.
Jayant,
Present, sir.
Divya,
Yes, sir.
Kaushik,
Present, sir.
Lakshmi, Lakshmi, Lavanya,
Present, sir.
Manish,
Present, sir.
Manoj,
Yes, sir.
Mohit,
Yes, sir.
Naval,
Yes, sir.
Navya,
Present, sir.
Nikhil,
Present, sir.
Panindra,
Present, sir.
Pavan,
Present, sir.
Pooja,
Present, sir.
Purnima,
Yes, sir.
Raman,
Yes, sir.
Rashmi,
Yes, sir.
Rupak Datta,
Yes, sir.
Sai Kumar,
Yes, sir.
Samir,
Present, sir.
Shraddha Ansari,
Present, sir.
Sharan,
Yes, sir.
Shashank,
Yes, sir.
Shivani, Soumyashri,
Present, sir.
Spurti,
Present, sir.
Shri Vishnu,
Present, sir.
Sugandhini,
Present, sir.
Sushma,
Present, sir.
Sushmita,
Present, sir.
Sushmitayu,
Present, sir.
Tirtha KB, Tirtha KB, Tirtha can be absent. Trupti,
Present, sir.
Varsha,
Present, sir.
Veena. Veena. Sheetal,
Present, sir.
Santosh. Santosh. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Read well.
Okay, sir.
Collect notes and PPTs. Some of you have not submitted properly the assignment.
Sir.
All the things, if you do not submit, will not be considered for 10 marks. It will be
Excuse me, sir.
evaluated only for 5 marks.
Sir.
Yes?
Sir, Benakara is present, sir. I have some technical issues, sir.
Okay, okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay.